Okay, you know the feeling. You're standing right in front of someone you've definitely met before, maybe even a few times. You know their face, you remember your last conversation, but their name, it's just poof, gone. And that cold panic starts to creep in. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why it happens.
Right? It's that sudden, heart-stopping moment where you realize you're now the star of a one-act play you have no script for. You're just hoping, praying that someone else will walk up and say their name, or that maybe a small, harmless meteor will strike nearby, creating a welcome distraction. Anything.
I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's a performance born out of pure, gut-wrenching anxiety. But listen, if this sounds like you, if you're constantly forgetting names, I really need you to hear what I'm about to say. That little voice in your head that tells you you're rude or that you're just bad with people, it's wrong. It's completely wrong. We're going to get into the actual science of what's happening, and I promise, by the end of this, you're never going to feel that same sting of guilt again. So what is actually going on up there? Well, it all starts the very second you meet someone new. Your brain isn't just sitting there calmly waiting to receive a name. No, it's in what we could call a state of cognitive chaos. It's trying to do way too many things at once. I mean, just stop and appreciate this for a second. Your brain is a supercomputer juggling all of this in real time. You're reading their expressions, listening to their tone, trying to place them in the social context, figuring out if they like you, all while desperately trying to think of something clever to say next. It's a lot. And right into the middle of that mental circus, someone just casually tosses you one more piece of data. A completely random, arbitrary sound. Hi, I'm Kevin. Okay, Kevin. At that moment, Kevin doesn't mean anything. It has no connections, no feelings, no images attached to it. It's just this isolated little data point. And frankly, your brain is way too busy to give it the attention it needs. You know, psychologists actually have a name for this, and it explains everything so perfectly. It's called the Baker/Baker paradox. Stick with me, this is fascinating. So, here's how it works. If I tell you a man is a baker, your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. You think of flour, warm bread, maybe an apron. A whole web of associations fires up. But if I tell you his last name is Baker, nothing. Crickets. It's the same exact word, but one has meaning and the other is just an empty label. Your brain is wired to cling to meaning, and it lets the empty data just float away.
And that's really the heart of it. Your brain is an efficiency machine. It's designed to prioritize information that connects to other things, stuff that means something. A name, when you first hear it, is semantically empty. It's often the first thing to get tossed overboard when the ship gets crowded.
Think about this for a second. Imagine the last funeral you attended. You probably remember the feeling in the room, right? The smell of the flowers, maybe a powerful sentence someone said, the quiet sadness. What you almost certainly don't remember is the exact schedule printed on the order of service.
Let that sink in. Names are the order of service. They're the printed text. Everything else about that person, their energy, their story, the way their eyes light up when they talk, that's the funeral. That's the real, memorable human experience your brain decided was important. But okay, it's not just an overloaded brain. For a lot of us, there's another culprit at play. And this one is a little more personal. It's that constant, chattering narrator inside our own heads. Does this sound familiar? Oh gosh, am I talking too much? Is my handshake weird? Did they notice I just stumbled over that word? If you're busy running that constant, anxious internal commentary, your brain literally doesn't have the bandwidth to listen. The name is said, but your inner monologue is just shouting right over it.
And guess what? This is a real, scientifically documented thing. It's called the next in line effect. Studies show that when people are waiting for their turn to speak, their memory for what the person right before them said just plummets. They're too busy rehearsing their own lines. Now, here's the big insight, especially if you deal with social anxiety. For you, this isn't a temporary state. You are permanently next in line. You're always on deck, always rehearsing, always managing your own performance, which means you can't ever fully, truly hear the person who's on stage right now. So please, if you take away only one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. You do not have a bad memory. This is not a memory problem. It's a preoccupation problem. Your focus is turned inward, not because you're self-absorbed, but because you're trying to manage an intense internal experience. Now, I want to take this reframe a step further, because this way of being, this preoccupation, it isn't a flaw. It's actually a sign of a different kind of mental architecture, and it has its own very unique strengths. Sure, your brain might have dropped the label, the name, but look at what it held on to.
It kept the important stuff. It remembers the story they told you about their dog, the funny way they laughed, that really insightful opinion they had on a movie. Your brain was paying attention. It was just recording a different, and frankly, a much deeper kind of data.
If this is you, you are very likely what's called a highly associative thinker. Your memory isn't built like a spreadsheet of facts. It's a rich, beautiful tapestry woven from context, feelings, and the entire emotional texture of an interaction. You don't just remember what happened, you remember how it felt.
And here's the upside. This type of brain architecture is actually far better suited for deep human connection. It's better for the kind of listening that makes other people feel truly seen, truly heard, because you're paying attention to who they are, not just what they're called.
So let's bring it all home. The goal here isn't just to understand the psychology, it's to completely dismantle that awful shame that comes along for the ride.
I want you to try on a new thought. The next time you feel that panic, replace that old negative self-talk with this. I am not uncaring. I am someone whose brain naturally prioritizes the substance of a person over the arbitrary tag they were given.
And I mean, let's be real for a second. A name is often the least interesting thing about someone. It's a sound their parents picked out for them before they'd done a single thing worth remembering. So your brain is failing at a task that, in the grand scheme of things, just isn't that important.
So let this be the final thought you hold on to. Forgetting a name doesn't mean you failed to connect. In fact, it might just mean you are connecting so deeply with the real stuff, the texture of who they are, their story, their laugh, that your brain simply decided it didn't have room for anything else. And that's a beautiful thing.